Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Living World Darkness, right across New York. We are on a tellurium in the Sept of the Green, where near the Cub cabins, Khumba is marching around restlessly around his den, looking rather occupied, probably some sense of boredom. Um, Nearby, there is another cub, Tlate, doing.
Um, she just walked out of the Cubs cabins and she is. mm, Let's see, let's roll 5 die for this because I haven't actually been thinking about what she would still wear. No, she is still, or again, I should say, dressed in what's left of her clothing. She looks like she just woke up from a nap. And she'll sit down on the stairs to the porch, basically.
Kumba will notice that and paw himself over closer to the female cabins, but he does try to make sure he has a good at least 5 feet in between you and him. And he'll look up to you like he looks up to you as like rough night.
No.
Hmm. Like and he nods his head. Okay, because do you have bedhead?
What's bedhead?
uh, like oh yeah, you don't. Yeah, yeah. That's more of a Hamid concept. And he kind of paws at his head. It's like it's when you don't fix it is when you don't straighten your hair or make your hair proper after sleeping. Hamid's called that bedhead.
Oh, she probably has a huge bedhead because last night or yesterday, Ellie pinned her hair up and she has not taken it out. But she's been swimming in the ocean, so her hair kind of looks like, I don't know, a scarecrow.
Shoot, it might still be wet if her hair is particularly thick.
Probably. So she just feels at her hair. It's up.
And he goes, "Yes, it's up, but it doesn't look kept. It doesn't look clean."
Oh. So?
And that's true. It's not like we're doing anything important, but I don't know. I've just got in the habit of trying to keep myself, you know, at least semi-formal at all times. But that's more due to my childhood from the farm. I don't know how Wendigo treat presentation.
You need to be cleaned up for presentation.
Mm, typically, I guess even lupus clean themselves. Maybe not every day, but still.
But not for presentation.
No, that's more for cleanliness, but presentation and cleanliness for Hamid kind of go hand in hand.
Ellie did this.
And he takes a more look at it. It's like, I see. And he noticed, I'm assuming they're hairpins or bobby pins.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're like, ah, I see. Hmm. So was she planning on styling your hair in the morning? His ears kind of twitch back and forth, or wait, why did she pin her hair? I guess that'd be an easier question to ask.
She shrugs.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't met this Ellie person. I just keep hearing about her. So maybe she has some type of fashion secrets that I don't know about.
Maybe.
Hmm. And then he kind of gives you a slight kind of like puppy eye look. I'm bored. You want to do something?
What?
I don't know. Like, what could we do that would not irritate you?
Nothing.
And he actually starts kind of a small bark and laugh at the same time. Oh dear, you're actually serious, aren't you?
Yes.
Oh no. And he starts scratching at his ears with his hind leg. And I go like, yeah. Here, actually, I think I have an interesting exercise for you. And he starts making a grid with his paws on the ground into the dirt. It looks like a tic-tac-toe grid, and he goes, "Come over here, please." He starts patting on the other side of it.
She looks at what he's doing and kind of seems like she didn't want to, but he is something in between a cub clear thing and fine. So she'll stand up and walks over.
And I was like, "It was excellent. We are going to have a lesson that I think will be a good, it should be good for you." I was like, "Do you prefer the symbol that like, makes a symbol of a circle and makes a symbol X? It's away from the grid. Like, what symbol speaks more to you?"
She points at the circle.
And he nods at that, and then he points at the grid. The objective of this game is this: you need to make your symbol make a row using it 3 times. And he makes an example away from the actual grid of like, one line going horizontal, one line going vertical, one line going diagonal. And in this case, he makes an X instead of a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he points back to the grid. The grid will be where we put our symbols at. And I want you to win by making that line. You can go first.
She looks at the grid. Then puts a circle in the middle.
He goes, "Good. My turn." And he puts an X under it.
She puts one in, or a circle in the corner, like the upper left corner, whatever.
Yep. And then he puts an X in the lower right corner.
And she puts a circle in the, let's see. Yeah, in the, she needs to put it in the lower left, right? Because you had one
In the lower right.
in
Yep.
the lower right and one directly below
Yep.
her circle.
Yep.
So she puts one in the lower left.
All right. Then he puts one to the left of your circle in the center.
And she puts one in the upper right corner.
And then he puts one up of the center of your circle.
Yeah.
Hate to break this to you,
She
Phil, but she already won. She has
She
3 in a
did.
row: lower left, center, and upper right.
You sure? Man, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be without actually having visual indicators.
This is true. That's why I was like, oh wait, you put one in the lower ones, right? Yeah, okay. Check. She draws the line from the lower left to the upper right.
You're natural.
From where does the voice come?
Probably off in the distance, not too far away.
Okay.
Enough for her to hear like enough for her to see the win.
A voice that's not fun from one of the cubs is automatically from a superior, so she won't even look up or say anything and just rolls over. She
What?
was probably kneeling down anyway.
Teresa blinks, and it takes her a little bit to figure it out. Oh, yeah. Don't worry about it. You're good.
Hi, Teresa. When did you get here?
I just kind of walked up.
And he points at the tic-tac board. I was like, I am trying to teach her.
Teaching her how to play tic-tac-toe?
Well, the point was, which I should have made clearer, I should have guess tried a bit harder than I did, was you know the old saying about tic-tac-toe?
Not really.
And he actually kind of slides at that, hearing you say that. You can't actually win tic-tac-toe. There is no winner in tic-tac-toe.
Okay.
And again, he's looking at like you get it, right? You know why you can't win at tic-tac-toe, right?
Sure. That's what Teresa will say. She'll play this shit off.
Like okay. He looks at Tlate, but Tlate, I didn't do a great example. And that was my fault. I should have taken this a bit more seriously. But he points at the board. Like, if I focused a bit more, if I really wanted to, how this game, unfortunately, the end point of this game is if both players are aware, how to win, nobody actually wins.
So you didn't try your best.
No, I merely see how you're going to respond at first.
That's stupid.
No, I'm testing.
If you test wrong, you can end up dead. Silly.
Yeah, but this is why it's a test, and it's practice. If I thought the test was going to be lethal, I would have told you so. But the point of this little extra is showing off a sense of inevitability. The idea is with the idea of tic-tac-toe, when both players know what the objective is, and since you only have a limited amount of space and a limited amount of moves, you actually can't win. Neither player can win. You'll end up countering each other every moment of the way. It's a pseudo play if it's a movie. I got a bigger idea of it watching it from a movie, and I kind of like the concept of it. I learned it first back in high school through my math teacher, but the idea is from the movie is when and trying to think of words to make it easier for you to understand. Imagine a Weaver spirit had an item of great, great power.
Yes.
And imagine that this Weaver spirit will only activate this great power if it wins in a game.
Yes.
And he points at the tic-tac board. in that movie, the opponent challenged the Weaver to a game of tic-tac-toe, knowing that the computer would counter every move he would do, ending up at a stalemate. And by doing so, he actually saved the world that he was on, because in the end, what the lesson was, when both players have a goal that typically ends about, let's just go with mass destruction, typically nobody wins. And by
But
playing a
that would
game
only
where,
happen when the Weaver Spirit would win. So why would you call a draw?
because by making a draw, he can't commit to destroying the world. He didn't win.
By losing, that would be the same result, and you would win, and you wouldn't be stuck in an endless game of tic-tac-toe.
I mean, he looks at you for a moment. I guess you could see it. I guess I could see it that way. I like the idea of draws in this case. That means since nobody wins, nobody has to die.
You say that to the worm as well.
The worm, unfortunately, needs to be subdued and pacified, if not put down. It's not the same creature that it was. If it was the same creature that it was, we wouldn't be in this predicament.
The worm is evil.
No, the
Needs to be
worm.
defeated.
Well, the worm was something that was just a part of the cycle. It got corrupted and became what it is now.
The worm is evil.
Yes, the worm is evil now. It wasn't always.
That doesn't matter.
Well, I do believe in second chances, but I also understand that it's nearly beyond help. So yes, we do have to try to take it down. But I would hope in the process of taking it down, we put it back to what it's supposed to be. Then everything will get back to normal. Well, partially. We still have to fix the Weaver too. That's another thing we have to work on. But one thing at a time. And Khumba looks at Teresa. So what do you think?
About?
And about the conversation?
Well, she'll laugh to herself a little bit, feel a little awkward saying this. I think your argument would have a lot more gravity if there was an actual tie in this game of tic-tac-toe.
And he goes, yeah, that was my bad.
The critical lesson that this teaches is, even in a game that's rigged, people can make mistakes.
Yeah, that's another thing you take out of this.
Sometimes, no matter how it's designed, if you either catch a little bit of luck or if your enemy fucks up, you can take advantage of it.
Because they'll take advantage of you if you don't.
And Kumba's ears kind of perk up and turn to the voice.
Alanna's walking up, having just read the tail end of this speech by Teresa.
Tlate will look at Alanna for a couple of seconds and then very slowly lets herself drop on the ground again.
Alright, Cub. You can get up.
You should do so and go sit back on the stairs of the porch again.
Kumba looks a little sad as she walks away, but then looks back to Alanna. I was trying to teach her about the sense of inevitability and kind of failed on that.
I thought so.
Yeah, and he points at the tic-tac-toe board. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Hi. You lost.
And he just kind of lowers his head, like, "Oh God, like yes, but you know what I'm referring to, right?"
Eventually, we're all gonna die, lad. That's the inevitability.
Oh,
It's how you live that matters.
yeah, that's true. And he just looks kind of confused, like the words like complex look Wolf could have. The idea I was trying to get across was, like, you've seen war games, right? And he looks at Teresa. You've seen war games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tic-tac-toe scene. The idea of the great power with the computer, just because it had nuclear bombs and he was going to use it, the idea is the player also had nuclear bombs. And if either one of them win, it would just make things worse. So he put it in a game where neither person could win. Because in the end, nobody wins a nuclear war. Because great destruction plus great destruction just equals more of that.
I get where you're coming from with that, but there's a lot of key differences between that scenario and the scenarios that you're referring to. Namely, none of us have nukes. Also, the parameters of victory are different from person to person. I get what you're saying at a very basic level, and to a degree, I can see where you're coming from. But at the end of
Doesn't
the day,
work in the grand scheme, does it?
yeah, at the end of the day, sentient thought kind of fucks with a lot of that.
Yeah, that's true. And he looks at Alanna. The idea I was wanting to go with was I would like to, or at least I'd like if the nation could, when we ever defeat the worm, fix it and bring it back to what it was. Then we move on to the Weaver. I'd like that to be a long-term goal of the nation, but that probably will never happen.
I think death is the option. It
That's
lets the
what
cycle then end and be reborn.
that's what it
That's how
used to be.
cycles go.
And he nods that. I agree with it. It probably just does need to die so it can get back to what it used to be. But
And hopefully we can keep the taint of it from spreading through the Weaver.
yeah, he nods that as well. I don't like seeing the worm, though. I understand how evil the thing is, and I've seen some that's evil. You know, nobody's typically born, and you try to do the best air quotes with his paws, the bad guy. They typically start at something that was neutral or even good and eventually became something else.
And I get raised a little.
No, there are people that, from the get-go, hurt people just to hurt them.
There are people that just legitimately ain't right.
Kuma kind of looks away from that, and his ears
You're
kind of
It's a
touching.
sad reality.
you're talking in generalities. We're talking in specifics, so it'll be.
Yeah, and that's another thing in Big World. You know, few versus the many, specifics, generalities, minorities, majorities. See, that's what I was trying to go to college for. It's partially agriculture and partially philosophy. And these would have been fun debates if I ever went.
Aye, but I don't think any of them would understand debating about the worm and the Weaver.
No, they don't understand our worm and weavers, but other people have their own worms in the weeds and the wild. But the mages have their own sense of it, the vampires and everybody else does. So
Aye,
Nah,
but not even college.
the the vampires kind of just party and kill dudes.
And Alanna kind of remembers the other night where they were just slaughtering humans as they could. And you can see this flush of, like, sadness wash over her just thinking about it.
And and Khumba kind of responds to Alana's look, and he goes over to her and starts kind of looking at her like, "Don't be sad."
Nah. So far, all I've seen of vampires are just killing people in the streets. Or killing Garu. It's not. Nah.
Vampires are just killers. Leeches on existence.
Mm. Khumba doesn't say anything. He just kind of just sits there with just the same kind of just sad look on his face, looking at Alanna. Well, I never met a vampire. And he finally responds.
You will. Probably at some point here.
Well,
I've met almost a dozen of them since I've been to the city. And we killed, what, 9 of them?
Yep.
well, I hope for every score of vampires that I kill, at least one of them will prove himself to be at least prove himself to be somewhat humane. That way I can at least hesitate.
Well, don't worry about hesitating, because they won't. And if you hesitate, they'll kill you.
And his ears kind of go up on that. And he definitely has a look of realization, hearing how in your tone of your voice, and just kind of away with the sad, naughty look, and just kind of gets up and shakes a bit and looks away.
Killing people is not fun. It's not something you enjoy. It's not something you should enjoy. Killing the worm. Killing the worm's taint. Those are duties. You should never question whether you should do your duty.
Because I sure the soldiers back in Germany would like to question some of their actions.
I'm sorry. This is... What? Teresa just stops and looks at Khumba.
What? And he just kind of shakes a bit and starts walking away.
Not a good comparison.
Hey.
Alanna looks to Teresa. So is he calling us the Nazis or the worm?
I don't know. I felt like he was... I assumed that it was a slight indirect comparison to the Nazis.
Like, it wasn't a slight, it is true. I read in a few books that the Nazi Party wasn't always what it was when it first started, too. And the camps, in some cases, were exaggerated. Not denying some were as terrible as the rumors were, either. As he's walking a bit further away, but he kind of stops. I'm not denying the people that were doing the horrible things in the Nazi Party weren't evil people. I also can't deny that some of them, like you said, were just simply following their orders and doing their duty, regardless of the consequences.
Our duty is not to murder innocent people. Our duty is to protect the veil. Protect each other. Protect Gaia.
Well, I am not against that idea. I'm just saying. I really hope, and I know I will, and I swear sometimes it keeps me up at night, that some innocent family that sees what we do, and I have to do that. That's not something I'm going to have to think about. It's different if there's people controlled by the worm, or you choose to work with the worm, or just jackasses trying to get their jollies after abusing people and they see us. That's different. And what happens if for some reason, like Olaf says, some people don't get hit by the delirium, and some reason they have the balls to respond and they shoot at us? Should I kill them just because they want to defend themselves? Because what we look to them are just monsters. I'm not denying what we do. I don't think what we do is bad. All I'm saying is I don't want to have such a straightforward and narrow, zealous devotion to our cause. And I know that seems really unguru or unwerewolf, but I'm also a bonar. And I gotta respect that part of myself too. And yeah, I'm not a ragabash, so I'm also supposed not to question these things, or whatever, or a stargazer, and think of this philosophy, but it doesn't change who I am. I'm not gonna not be who I am just because apparently it doesn't fit in the exact square that they want me to be in.
Alanna turns her back towards the conversation, taking a few steps away, her arms crossed, one hand up at her face.
But I know I sound really naive, but it is what it is. Yeah. Khumba will snuffle a bit, and he actually does it louder than he typically would. And he goes, Teresa.
Yeah.
I've been training with a spirit, and I learned a new trick. I was wondering if you allow me to test it on you.
Okay, let's give it a shot.
And he goes, don't worry. And he looks over to Alanna and Tlate. Cover your guys' nose.
Alanna doesn't seem to move.
Tlate will kind of stand up and actually lean on the porch balcony. She's not covering yet, but she is keeping ready. She's ready an attack on her nose.
And he goes, all right, Teresa, I need you to go into either... go into Lupus real quick. It'll probably work best if you're in that.
Okay. And she'll start taking her time. And let me get her Lupus over there. There we go.
All right. And
Good.
Khumba will spend a point of rage and oh, the ones. All right. And all of a sudden, we just get this wafting smell of just like oil and grease and dirt in your nostrils. and you smell like a mixture of blood, other probably bodily fluid. It smells like a mixture of just the deep city and a sewer. And if you were going to commit to any actions, you would lose 2 dice in that action.
All right. My compulsion's going to kick in super hard. Teresa is going to move right on over to that lake and start to clean themselves off. It's not really a running thing. She knew this was going to be a test on for some kind of gift.
In the meanwhile, Tlate will spend the noses and roll her noses. Will create wind blowing the stench away from the sept up in the air.
Create element, nice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Teresa will start to go and get herself cleaned right off.
Yeah. So Khumba shakes a bit, and he looks at Teresa like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh, sorry."
Alanna doesn't even seem to have flinched.
Like, it's a skunk spirit taught it to me. It should give me a bit of an edge against enemies with strong sense of smell, so I don't have to fight them directly if I don't have to. And if not, it'll give me an edge.
Not necessarily. I won.
And he kind of looks like, well, this isn't tic-tac-toe, but I get your point. And he slightly chuckles at that.
Never assume that just because you know a trick, the enemy doesn't know a trick that's against you. And in their profit.
No, I don't always guarantee this to work, but it's good to have it.
Don't waste your time using it against the vampires. They don't have to breathe.
I'll keep that in mind. But I heard that they have like a strong sense of smell, so I guess if they're not in the habit of breathing, I guess it won't work on them. So yeah, nods at that.
I suppose it depends on how old they are. I guess an older ones breathe less than younger ones. Who knows, though, for certain.
Thank you for the heads up, Alanna. It could also help in case we need to, get a room cleared out or an area cleared out. Even humans, if I get a good enough stench, will either choke on it or walk away from it. Hopefully the latter.
You can hope.
That's the best way to start to any success. Then there's preparation and skill after that. Or probably the better order it'd be preparation, skill, then hope. And he looks over at Teresa like, all right, how you doing?
She's done washing herself now. She comes back, shakes herself off. I'm all right.
I'm like, I forgot about your condition. That was ignorant of me.
Not a condition. What are you talking about?
Well, I remember when we were talking about those health revenues, me and Eric, you started talking about hand sanitizer. You were twitching a little bit.
Okay. My bad.
All right.
Hand sanitizer makes you twitch.
No, I think she has. And he looks over to Teresa. If it's okay for me to assume.
Assume what? I just like to be clean, guys.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. No, it's not. I was talking about that with Tlate this morning, or earlier, really. Man, he looks over to Tlate like, have you learned anything new from the spirits?
No.
And then he looks over to Teresa. How about you?
Oh, sorry, what was the question?
If you learn anything new from the spirits.
Nah. Can get some help from some of the urges, learn the thing. Figure fire is going to be a big issue in the Amazon, so I'm getting ready for that.
An orb of light appears a short ways in front of Alanna.
Sorry?
An orb of light appears a short ways in front of Alanna and just begins lazily dancing in a circle around her.
Khumba looks with a bit of amazement. Is that a will-o-wisp?
Aye. That's what we'll call it.
His ears, not ears, his tail starts kind of twitching back happily back and forth. It's like, that is so cool. So, like, can you see through it, or is it just a movable light source?
It's a light.
Does it actually burn?
Not that I've ever seen. Burning requires other tools. I can do that too.
And he kind of looks like, and a bit of a little bit of confusion and again amazement. So, like, I heard the Metis can like manipulate the elements, so you can do that.
She gives a slight nod.
And he looks his mouth open in a slight doggy grin. I was like, man, one of these days I need to try to learn that. That could be really useful.
Aye. Clean water will probably come in very handy down there. Especially when you're thirsty and panting.
Yeah. I was like, I actually need to work on eventually learning the cooking right. That way we could always have food. I've also been trying to work on recipes to use the bread from the cooking right to make it more tasteful. Mm-hmm. That stuff literally tastes like a mixture of like air and cardboard and glass and whatever we put in the bowl when we do it. Just really, really, really stale and edible. That's the main important thing. Edible.
Take your word for it.
I gotta say, if you don't have to eat from the right of cooking, it's not a downside. It'll keep you up. Yeah. I was like, it will keep you going throughout the day. It's a full course meal nutrition wise. Enjoyment, no way. But nonetheless, best sense of rationing. You can pretty much never run out.
So we should bring some extra salt with us.
To help with the food preservation, or do you like salt?
It's for seasoning. Don't you usually use salt in cooking?
Yeah, a little bit. My parents raised me to avoid using it. At least not a lot of it.
I didn't say put a salt lick in it.
And he kind of chuckled. Like, I didn't say that. I don't know. Most homage excessively use the stuff. So. But we're not in that kind of condition, so I shouldn't have to worry about it.
If you're in enough salt that you have those problems, you should probably just go about and finish yourself then.
Yeah, but people do that themselves every day. Heck, the worst I've ever seen is, you know, like those potato chips the Homid eat a lot? I've seen
Right.
Homid put more salt on those potato chips, even though they're already drenched in it. I almost threw up, I swear. I gagged a little.
I've taken and cut up potatoes and baked them, but they've never been anything like what they have in those bags.
Yep. Yeah, I like potato chips, but I always have to get particular ones. All the other ones make me feel sick.
Well, maybe you should just start adding them to your bowl of cooking stuff.
Yeah, they probably make it possibly
Dog
tasty.
and all.
That'd be fun to do just to see what happens, but as far as I've heard about the right, it doesn't matter what you put in as long as it's something that could be eaten put in it. So putting the bag and all would not be a good way to ration out the rations. So if I were going to use the potato chip bag, I'd only use it after I run out of potato chips, not all at once.
Okay, if you say so.
So, like I said, I need to try to read up more on it. So, yeah, the kinfolk told me about it, and I saw somebody actually commit to doing the right. That was made out of hair, some leftover pizza. I think it was a broken bong and something else. And yeah, they fed that to me. Man, it kind of looks like a sense of like a mixture of sadness and like disappointment. It was, like I said, edible. Do either Fiona have anything as desperate
As a
as that?
rodent, nay. I tend to stick to food. Like real food.
Well,
That's just... oh,
Bonars live on the street with very little, so we use what we have and make it into something useful.
that I can applaud you for.
And that's definitely helped out when when I didn't have food and I had to look for them. I was able to at least stock up on the bread that they make with that stuff. And honestly, I wish I would have learned that while I was training with them. That way, I didn't have to go to them.
Well, there's always time now before you head off to die with the rest of us in the Amazon. Are the Cubs coming to the Amazon?
I keep hearing it's going to be soon, and it's going to be, it looks like Teresa, it's supposed to be in Brazil, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And Khumba will speak in Portuguese for a few seconds, and then goes back into Garu. Like, I have been learning Portuguese with Ping.
Good for you.
They're like, I think it'll be rather useful while we're down there in case we have to deal with any natives.
I'll let you handle that then.
I'm just glad that I'm actually getting somewhere with it. Learning a language is hard. I understand Stoneclaw's duress when I told her about it, and he chuckles at that. But I think it's actually fun, and it helps us connect to people better. So I plan on learning more languages. And then I've been talking to Ping more about the Umbra, so I'm getting much more inclined with that space. That, like I told her, I dealt more with the spirits than the Umbra itself, but I'm glad I'm getting better knowledge so I can better assist once we go sideways.
Good for you. Knowing more is always helpful. Knowing what you're getting into.
And Khumba is feeling something. I'm doing P&E. I got 1 success.
Who's he P&E for what?
Alanna, because he's feeling like she's being a bit standoffish, like something's wrong.
She is a bit standoff. She's standing by herself at the moment. Sideways away from everybody. Her back's still to everybody. She is kind of talking over her shoulder.
Okay,
So yeah, there's a good chance that something's bothering her.
that's fair. Like it, Teresa will scroll on up and Lucas, look Alana's hand a couple of times. Probably bump her side a little bit.
She'll bump you back with her hip.
She'll start to get a little playful right now, but then she'll kind of stroll up and sit right in front of her. What's wrong?
Her gaze is like a million miles off at the moment. Just a lot on my mind, I suppose. A lot on my mind. And she actually just sits down with her knees up and her arms kind of resting on the top of them.
Teresa will do the thing that a lot of animals are wont to do when someone they like does not look okay. We'll just put a paw on her knee and just look at her.
One corner of her mouth raises a little, and she pats your paw with her hand.
You don't have to talk about it right now.
Aye. And there's 2 good reasons I don't have to.
Okay.
Actually, they're both kind of the same reason. She kind of has a thoughtful look on her face for a moment.
Teresa's just sitting there, all like almost waiting for an elaboration.
You're not my elder nor my alpha. Which means you're not my better at the moment. You're my equal. So I don't have to tell you.
Teresa shrugs. Okay.
Khumba, I guess she's speaking loud enough that other people could hear it, just for her and Teresa to hear.
She hasn't changed her volume of voice, so you probably can hear it.
Yeah, Khumba openly sighs about that.
It's the only good part of being out of pack at the moment, I suppose. And keep things to myself easier.
So, do you feel that being a pack would enslave you?
Oh, nay. Not in the slightest.
Hmm.
Actually makes things easier.
Well, it's with your last statement, it seems like you like.
I said I can keep things to myself easier.
Kuma's ears twitch a bit.
I didn't necessarily say keeping them to myself was a good thing.
Well, when I said what I said, what it means for, most Hamids is, well, we would like to hear what your thoughts are, but if you don't want to, it's no biggie. That's all I meant.
She takes a deep breath and lets it out. He glances over towards Khumba and then back at Teresa. Watching monsters just descend on people, ripping into them with their fangs, like they're a rabid beast. You can't unsee that. And you can't just stand there and hope that one of them will decide, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. You have to act. You have to protect the people. You have to protect each other. Hoping and praying that one of them might be redeemable. It's not realistic.
And Kumba's ears are twitching again. He doesn't say anything, though.
Watching them just murder people because they're having a party.
And Kuma responds to that. If that's the case, they do deserve to die. And I don't disagree with the fact that the evil should be punished. So,
Could have showed a moment of hesitation. Peeing, myself, Aiden, or Teresa. Any one of us could have been dead. Not to count all the people they'd already killed. Plus those Harry Potter folk, corrupt by the ones on the stage. They will not show you a second of mercy. Don't expect it, because it won't come. It's just another pelt in their collection.
Kumba will say a bit quietly, I understand.
And Alanna at that point just puts her head against her knees. And cries very quietly.
And you'll hear Kuma kind of patting closer to Alanna, and he wants to try to get directly in front of her, and he has a look of it's serious. It's a mixture of seriousness and sadness, and he starts kind of lowering his head at her and kind of give out the gesture like if I could come like if he can come closer.
She's not looking up at you. She's not looking up at anyone. And I think you'd have to push Teresa out of the way to sit right in front of her.
And Khumba will just kind of get closer and like kind of rub against her knee and see if that get her attention.
She doesn't respond right away. Then you hear it. And she kind of pulls her head up and rubs her eyes before she even lets them be seen. And looks at Khumba.
Yeah. Khumba has, at this point, the most, like, just sad and, like, I'm sorry look on his face. And there is a slight, like, tears welling up in his eyes. Like, I didn't mean to. I don't know. Like, as I didn't know the horrors that you saw.
I recommend avoiding Halloween parties. Unless you want to get in a fight. This time of year is never good. Ever.
And he just nods at that.
I hope you can keep your optimism, but you may find reality weighing heavily upon it.
And he breathes out and he kind of paws away from her. He goes, I bet the Jews thought that when they were in Egypt. And I understand. And I won't hesitate, and I can't because I don't want anybody else to get hurt. But I can still hope that maybe one day they'll get better. And with that, we will end this solemn moment. Thank you, watchers, for watching, and thank you, players, for playing. Have a good morning, evening, or afternoon.